Outer Orange. Recently, there has been a premium ban list, and me being someone who's taken a break from premium the last 2 years, I decided to get back into the game, and today I want to talk about a very special deck. Hey guys, welcome back. OuterOrange here. Today, we are going over some premium. Granblue is one of my favorite clans in all of Vanguard. It's the clan I started back in COVID started. It's always been my favorite. I did pretty well on it. I've topped under it. It is definitely one of my favorite decks, and I've always created some really weird decks. I've never really had a standard. Never been a fan of NIGHTROSE. And with Ghidorah going to 2, I finally decided to get back into premium literally a little over a month ago, basically when Harry Crest started becoming relevant, along with NIGHTROSE Crest being one of the strongest decks in the format. So with that being said, today I'm going to show you guys a different version of Crest. Today I'm going to share with you guys the cool deck that I created that's a little different from a standard NIGHTROSE deck that you might like too. All right, fam, welcome to the, this is Granblue NIGHTROSE right here, and we're going to talk about it. I haven't done a screen like this in a while, so I'm very excited to bring it back just as a little bit of a changer. Just FYI, the deck log will be right here somewhere for y'all to just check it out, so you guys can also see the deck log if you don't want to hear me talk, and if you do, I'll give you a lot of insight, and if you find the insight very useful, do not forget to like and subscribe as we go through this, and as always, thank you so much for all your support. So this is a NIGHTROSE deck list, so of course we're running NIGHTROSE. We want to run 2 and 2. We want to run the D NIGHTROSE and the V NIGHTROSE. The D1 gets our history collection strides going. The V1 closes us out for this. This deck's version is to abuse the heck out of Crest. That's exactly what we're going to do with this build, and I'll talk about it in a little bit what we're doing. But this one, basically, she's a multi-attack extension. She's absolutely insane. We're running her at 2 because you definitely want to see her, especially in this build. You can even opt to run 3 and run one of these. You have plenty of ways to find this, so you can actually get away with a bunch of 1-ofs in this deck. Next, for the grade 3s, we do have Nightstorm. This is the oldest probably multi-attack extender aside from Vanguard in a very long time. And basically, this is just one of the multi-attack extenders you swing with him. After his battle, you call a card. You usually want to call Beatrice out, and then Beatrice will actually call over him, and then you can actually call back again, and you keep going back and forth. It is technically an infinite loop, but of course, there's Counter Blast and Soul Blast every single time, so you're going to run out. But this is like one of the best combos you can do. Speaking of Beatrice, let's go ahead and talk about her. So we were on 2. She is broken in a good way. This isn't like, you know, bad broken tier 0 or anything like that, but she's an insanely good card. Basically, ever since she's come out, Granblue has lifted up and become a way stronger clan and as a whole because of how nuts she is. On Vanguard Circle, she basically lets you call a card or Vanguard Circle for Soul Blast, and you can call anything from drop that isn't herself, so you can abuse, you know, your drops in over and over again for a Soul Blast. It doesn't require Counter Blast to call. She also on Vanguard Circle, if you have a bunch of ghosties, she can also multi-attack under them, called out, but we're mainly playing her for the first effect. If you ever have to ride her, your ghosties also get extra shield, which is pretty nice. We run 1 ladder. Ladder is just important. If you want to close out properly, you really need ladder, because a lot of decks, especially Harry, will just wipe your comms and you usually lose to it. So this is something you want to pick up off of another broken card, and we'll talk about that card in a second here. But you want to pick this card up or find it as soon as you can on your kill turn. You really need this because it shuts off a lot of what decks want to do, and you really need that in order to finish off. Speaking of the card that will help you get there, we have our Elargif. This card's absolutely insane. I just got back into premium, and I just cannot express enough how broken this card is. It's just nuts. It gets you ultimate stride. It gets you grade 3s in general. It gets you heal guardians, the grade 3 ones specifically. It gets you greed shades, column bars, you name it. This card gets everything. And also the greatest part about this card, it also picks up ladder, which is very, very important. So this card abuses, it has a lot of abuse behind it. It makes up a die turns way better. There's just nothing bad about this card. Also, if you just stride with it, you just draw a card, and then guess what? You're going to revive it anyway. So it's just a free draw for you. So that's our grade 3s. Let's go to our grade 2s. I want to talk about the most fun part about this deck, which is the uniqueness of this deck versus other Granblue decks, and that is the Banished Francis. Banished Francis is absolutely insane with crest power involved. I will say under crest, you just ignore this card. You just use her as a mill engine. But while I was testing Granblue, I personally was finding an issue where there are some games, not all the time, there's just some games where my drop is too small. I can't really do anything. I have to play for this slow game where I have to like wait 3 strides, and it just wasn't really my thing. And I wanted a faster way to mill so I can close out faster, because I will say into the Harry matchup, this is pretty rough if you don't open well. I do run a bunch of critical triggers to kind of help with this as well, but into Harry, you really want to close out fast as possible. You want to drop a Hanaway. You kind of have to answer Harry pretty fast. If you don't, they'll wipe you out. They can dust you, they can do a bunch of crazy stuff, so you want to try and finish off as fast as you can. This is one of the cards to do it with. This card says when this unit attacks, you can discard the top 2 cards of your deck and gets plus 5k power. So you basically just swing with her, get plus 5 and a mill. You don't have to mill, which is the best part, so you can, if you're getting low on deck, just don't mill. And her second skill, which is where we really want to optimize her ability, she says when she's retired by a card, by one of your card's ability from Rearguard Circle, you can Soul Blast, bind her, and choose another bandage from your drop and call it to the Rearguard Circle. Now, as you know or don't know, crest powers is insane. If every flip you have, your front row gets +5, and then basically by the time you're on this card, you'll probably have a 30k front. So ideally what you want to do is you want to have her, and you want to have the V premium of NIGHTROSE specifically as your Vanguard. V premium NIGHTROSE will retire her, so then her skill will proc. Originally, when this card was printed, it was actually meant for this deck, but the issue, there just isn't space for this deck. And then we had the new Grade 2 promos come out for V, and then basically this card never saw light until I think now this card's insane, especially into mirrors. But basically what happens is you're going to swing with this, you're going to mill 2, you're going to bind it, you're going to call a fresh copy, you're going to swing with it, you're going to mill it, you're going to bind it, you're going to call a fresh call, you're going to swing with it, you're going to mill with it, bind it, get a fresh copy, and then you'll eventually run out, but it's okay. You can run Bell to basically unbind them all, and then swing with the NIGHTROSE, counterblast, recall out Bell or whatever, and get basically these cards back in rotation, and then you just keep going and going. The best part about this card is that it requires a Soul Blast to play, and Grand Blue has a lot of access to find Soul, so you basically can abuse the Soul management. Your opponent can't deny it because they can deny your counterblast, but they can't deny this because of Soul Blast. And then if you're swinging under Crest power, she's 9 on her own, 14 with NIGHTROSE, and then if you add 30k power to this, she's 44, 34, whatever it is, depending on how much Crest you applied. And yeah, she just keeps going. This card just doesn't stop. So it's another way to extend plays outside of just Nightstorm Beatrice, or outside of how to define Negrabone, or whatever else you need. This is just another way to attack. The best part about this card, she doesn't need a boost or anything to keep going. So you can just keep going. And then as early on, like I mentioned, the mill is very important because you can set up your job faster than other players. What happens is, since your drop is set faster, you can play the game faster, because Grand Blue's biggest weakness is its early game. It doesn't really have much of an early game. Its early game is all setup. This deck is all about setup, and then eventually you kill. Well, I like to kill faster, so that's just why I play this. I'm not saying this stuff is broken or anything like that. It's just the cup of tea that I like. I really like this version. Ever since it got on it, I have not changed it. Now, I will say this is a way more greedy version of the deck. Because we're making space for this, we have to cut out good defensive cards, but usually you kill on second stride, so sometimes, and for the most part, it doesn't matter. And if you're playing top tier decks over and over again, some of those defensive cards don't come up. 2 Column Bards, I really don't like this card. I never really have. I totally understand its purpose, but because people are smart enough to play around it, it's not the most abusable card as it used to be, but it is still really insane. It basically says counterblast 1, search your deck for anything, put it into drop, and then from drop you revive anything you want. It's really, really, really essential. So you still want to play it. I just don't believe this is a 4 of. I've seen a lot of decks run at 4. I don't really like it at 4. I think it's perfectly fine at 2. I think 1 is too little. I have seen some people, mainly people I've been testing with, have this at 1 or 4. I'm kind of in a good slot of 2. I think 2 is a good sweet spot for it. But yeah, that's Column Bard. Next we have Jesse. Jesse's like, you know, Jesse. This can be King Serpent as well. I'm still kind of testing ratios in terms of counter charge ratios. Jesse does the job, so he just self-revives himself. You have so many ways to get him out. It's just really free. You find him and you just kind of play the game. And then next we have Ship. Ship has been a 1-0 for who knows how long now. Ship is great. 4K beater on its own, and with Crest power just gets massive. Just be careful with the draw. It is like mandatory, so just be careful how you abuse it. And then last but not least, we of course have this other Brickin card, which is the Revetting Frenchie card. Is just insane. She basically lets you find your crest, which is very important. She also has an insanely good counterblast skill. When she's boosted, you can call a card from drop. You can basically abuse Beatrice under this, and the Ghost Ship, and the Nightstorm, and the Alargive, and basically whatever else you want. Under NIGHTROSE, this gets absolutely insane because you'll be swinging back and forth, and if you set up correctly, if you set up your boosters correctly, you'll just keep going. Throw in the Ghosty crit to kind of extend further. You just need to be careful that people don't kill off your booster, because if they do, this card's offline. But like I said, the second effect of the discard is also just insane, especially since running Crest. So you need to use this. I was a big fan of this at 2 for a while, but under Crest you have to have it at 4. Next we have our grade 1s. Of course, it's a Crest deck, so we need Crest cards. You just need these. They're important. You got to find this. This is like the biggest power buff. You can play the game without it, by the way. Grand Blue does not really care as much about Crest, but other decks do. I will say this variant, because it's a little more greedy, it does want to see Crest, but you are fine without playing Crest. You can just play a normal gameplay of Grand Blue and just go into Bartholomew for game, so it's not the end of the world. Next, I run the Tommies. I do run a 2-2 split. I really recommend a 2-2 split if you're running 4. You need this and you need this. This helps you find certain NIGHTROSEs because it searches for any of them. And then this one helps you discard certain grade 3 pieces to also find your NIGHTROSE. They both come up in their own ways, so I recommend just running both. Ursula goes around some weird stuff that some decks will do. So if you're going into like a competition, like if you're just playing a BCS, I really recommend running 1 copy of her. She does shut off bugs a little bit. She forces the minus to not happen, so you're still at 13k base, which is very important in terms of how you're going to guard. It's basically like a pseudo G guard if you think about it. It's a pseudo way to to go around not being able to G-guard and also not being a 3k base, because that stuff extends. You still lose to bugs there. It's almost unwinnable. It is winnable, but the chances of you winning is like you checking crits every single turn or something like that. Like you really need to get lucky to go into bugs. If you're a big Grand Blue player like me and you are really big into matchups, this card does come up in some weird situations. We have one bell. Again, this is for the unbinding. Also, it's really good into Narukami. There's a lot of people that are kind of coping on that deck. It's pretty good. Narukami is really good into Harry, I feel, primarily. I don't think it's as good into Grand Blue, funnily enough, but as long as you have this card, your Narukami player is never actually going to play the game. You're basically just going to set this up at the perfect time. They can't really answer it. They're forced to kind of go off their normal game plan, and then you'll win off of it, basically. Sometimes you don't even activate it. You just kind of show it, and then they go, okay, cool. They run bell. Well, I guess I can't do what I want to do. And then last but not least, we run the Negrabone in the grade 1 slot. I really want this to be at higher copies. It's just deck space. If you can get this out of your deck as fast as possible, that's good. That's what the combo art's for. You want to see this just because it basically revives anything. And then for your bad bounty turns, you really need this card. And then we have a Ganache. This is the countercharging one. This is not your starter. This is just the regular one that countercharges for you. It's very important to basically reset up your entire turn. You're basically going to do a ton of stuff for Counter Blast and Soul Blast. And this card says, hey, countercharge 2 at the end of turn, and you get it all back. Really great. And then we have a starter. You want the V starter, you need it for the crest. And also this just helps you draw extra cards. The draw 2 is insane. A long time ago, I used to play Beatrice with Bilber and the grade 1 Perfect Guard Ghosties for this exact reason. Draw 2 is nuts, especially in Grand Blue, because Grand Blue can randomly brick against itself. And the more you draw, the earlier, the faster, and the better this deck will play. We have the heals. I am running the counter-charging heal. I got this idea from Harry. Ever since I put it in Harry, I just can't go back now. These are also got upgraded recently, so they're now 15k shields with 10k defense, which is a huge upgrade for these. They're actually playable now. Before, when they were less shield, I would say they weren't as good. This counter charge and soul charge comes up so much, whichever one you decide to do. You can just G-guard, and then go into this, and then basically get a counter to soul charge on your opponent's turn, which is really massive because your opponent will try and stop you from playing the game, whichever way they can, so they can get to their win con. So what you can do is you can tell them, no, I'm still going to play the game, and I'm going to drop this guy down. A lot of people get to agree with their attacks, where they'll G-guard, well, they'll attack for no reason, and then you'll just G-guard under it, and then you win the game off of it. It's a really big knowledge check in Premium, I feel. Some people know, and some people don't know how to play around G-guards, and it's very important to know how to play around it, because that's usually what will get you wins. I'm running the 4 Rampage Shades. They're NIGHTROSE. They draw if you hit them defensively. They are crits if you hit them offensively. They're just beautiful. These things are insane. You should just be running these. They also give 5k to your Vanguard when you swing, and having crest power, these do poke your opponent's Vanguard just a little bit, which is really nuts. I'm running the 3 regular Banshees. Now, as I mentioned, I'm running Bandish, which is a lot of soul, so we need soul. Now, what else is good about these cards is that they help you find crest faster. Sometimes, and it will happen, you are forced to pass turn on turn 1 because you didn't find your crest, or you just stay with whatever it is the case that happens. Sometimes you have to pass. So before you pass, you can shove these into soul and draw some cards. And what happens is it will just increase your odds of finding what you're looking for, and it makes it a lot easier. You can still play Go second, and you still get one of the quick shields. It's not the end of the world. I've done it plenty of times under Harry and one under it. So this is just something you just have to do sometimes. So there's those. I do run the other ones as well. I'm not the biggest fan of running these. They are 10k defenses, 50k shield. They're basically the same thing as the other ones, but they're GP1 locked. When your Vanguard attacks, you put them in soul. Draw a card and you give your Vanguard 10k, makes your Vanguard huge. If you just draw a lot of your crits early, it comes up. So I might make these stride crits, I'm not sure yet, but last but not least, we run the OT. There is logic to run the purple OT. You can run the purple OT and you'll be okay. This will sometimes deck you out, which is a problem. And purple OT is just nuts because it's a heal. It's a heal offensively and defensively, which is big. Well, notice that I'm not running any Sentinels at all. This is a pure crit deck. I have always been a very big advocate of pure crit decks, and especially since History Collection gets you 2 perfect guards anyway, it's usually just enough to get you through anything spooky, and then you'll just win on bad bounty. That's basically my logic behind it. I've always been kind of weird about Sentinels in this deck, especially draw Sentinels, so I basically just opted to take them out. I know I'm weird, it's just how I exist. Protect 1, Protect 2. Sometimes you'll go Protect 2 into Gize. You just need to, just so you can finish off faster, since they don't go up in power as easily as other decks do. And then Protect 1 is usually the go-to. Sometimes you go Protect 2. You do want your shields as well, don't forget those. And then let's go ahead and talk about the strides. Here's the History Collection, run 2. This is just the card that I don't have the errata for, but basically this card lets you get 2 protects. and this starts flipping for your crest. You almost always want to go into this going first stride, and then after that you'll go into something else. Ideally you want to go first and go into this, and then go into Bad Bounty the turn after and kill. You can't, then you go like Obadiah or something else, and then you'll kill on the third stride. But ideally you want to go stride into this and then G-guard a lot and then stride into Bad Bounty for game. That's like the optimal everything's going well scenario. But these are really strong. They basically get you a free unit from drop to the board. They're just nuts. You basically just spam Ghost Ship or Enlarge for whatever you want under these. Run 3 Bad Bounty. Very, very, very important card. This card basically carries the majority of Grab Blue nowadays. Obviously, there's another card that also does this, but this card primarily is usually the card you always stride into. It basically just says, hey, at the end of this battle, ride a better Vanguard. And that's important because it's a triple drive into a twin drive. And the discard is after you already do everything, which is very important because then you discard whatever you don't want, or you set up with whatever you have that you sometimes you'll perfectly drop check what you need, and that's perfect because then you'll pitch it away. And then this basically goes into V NIGHTROSE, and then V NIGHTROSE just pops off like crazy. It is one of the nuttiest combos in Grand Blue because you can go this into Rose and then spam a bunch of multi-attacks under Rose, or you can go defensive and, you know, just draw a bunch of cards, whatever you decide to do. This card's nuts, absolutely broken, insane card. And usually this is your finisher, usually, not always, but usually this is the card you want to finish on, and you usually will because V and this is just too broken together with the NIGHTROSE package. Next, I run 1 regular OB. It comes up. Usually, if you're under this, you're either going to win really hard or lose really hard because it's really slow. If you're forced to go into this, your drop sucks and you have to set it up. This is your setup turn, which means you're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, or you're randomly kill on this because you'll mill so many cards out of your deck that when you swing with this, everything will be lethal because it'll be crit, 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 and then your opponent has to answer all of it. As I mentioned before, I'm running a pure crit deck, no draws and heals. That's it. So there's no stands, there's no nothing. It's just, hey, I run a lot of crits. You're about to take a lot of damage if you don't guard all this. So sometimes the opponent won't be able to answer it and they'll die. You can also multi-attack under the Obadiah, and then you can set up your Ganache, and then you can countercharge it all back and do all that kind of fun stuff. You could draw a bunch of cards. Like I said, this is usually your setup turn. Sometimes on a random occasion you'll kill, but it won't come up too often. And usually if you're setting up a drop, you're behind, so you have to be very careful how you play this turn because it could kill you, because your opponent can just ride up, do whatever they want to do and kill you, and then you'll be in big trouble. So hopefully if you're on this, you set up properly so where you don't die, so then you can go into Bad Bounty. Next we have Bartholomew. Bartholomew is insane. Some people misplay this card. They'll, not count their drop when they're swinging. Be careful of that. They'll sometimes be at 29, and the guard restrict has to be 30 the entire time to stay with the guard restrict. But anyway, long story short, multi-attacker, huge, insane guard restrict. You basically want to go for a late game with this. I recommend 2 if you can find a spot for 2, because sometimes you won't kill under this, and then you have to basically not deck out and then try to kill again. It does happen. Opponent checks OT, and you have to, reset up again, basically. So just be careful how you use this, but this card's insane. I run the DOB. This is basically the card that if you're just out of counterblast, out of nothing, you don't have history, culture, strategy, just have nothing else to do because you either checked OT defensively, which shut off your opponent's turn, but also shut off your turn. If you just can't do anything else, you ride this. The reason why you want to ride this is because it flips, which means you still get press power off of it, so that's important. You can also swing to a rear, get your triple drive, you have your flip and everything, and then you pass turn. It also deck thens a card, which is really good. So basically this is like your oh shit button, oh no, I have to play carefully for like a turn, but I still want to flip. So you go into this, you flip, you pass. You just don't, and the thing is that the support about this, that's a main face flip, which means you can actually stride this, flip, pass. You don't even have to do anything else. You just literally just don't even swing. And trust me, it does sometimes come up into matchups. A good example is actually even Harry itself. If you're trying to slow it down, you want to give it a counter blast, you also Huntley under it, whatever it is that you do, you can just flip, pass, G-guard under their turn, and then go into your turn to kill. Grand Blue is very capable of sending someone from 0 to 6, so you don't have to be like, oh no, like I don't know if I'll kill. Trust me, you'll kill with crest power. If crest is in mind, you'll definitely kill. So this is basically your backup plan. Going into G-guards, I only run 2 Lily. I've always ran 3, but now, I don't run the Denial Griffin package, as you guys saw. It's very counterblast heavy. It doesn't usually matter. It doesn't actually stop a lot of things. Like, Harry will still keep playing the game, even if you kill one dude off. They're still going to keep going. Like, they're not going to stop. But I will say Denial Griffin does come up into the weirder matchups, like the more rogue picks, but I've found that I haven't had any issue with dealing with some of the more rogue picks. I'm usually okay. For the most part, I found that Denial Griffin just wasn't doing enough for me. It's just a way too heavy cost for what I want to do. So I just opted to go around it. But it doesn't mean this card's bad. You can still Beatrice and get something good out and just you know, set up that way. But that's basically where I cut off on the defensive end to make room for my offensive stuff. Next we have the Negro mode, just a Soap Blast, get a bunch of shield guy. Dismal. Dismal's very important, especially into matchups like Narukami. You basically just Dismal something, your opponent can't touch it, and it's basically safe for the turn. And if they're forced to swing, they have to swing at your Vanguard, because it can't swing to the rears, it can't hit it, whatever. So therefore you're forced to give your opponent's forced to give you damage if you only have one dude on the board. This is Oriana. She's just really good for the DP matchup mainly. You counter blast, minus crit for something for every 5 in your drop, and then you just go haha hee hee, I don't care about what you're doing. And last but not least, which is very important, is Necronora. I actually run 2. I have one in my bulk somewhere, stuff like looking for right now. This is very important for the flipping. She Soul Blasts and she chooses a face down G-Guard and puts it face up. This is very important because you wouldn't even care about the second effect, we just care about the flip. If your opponent is swinging, it's like their second to last attack or whatever, you basically just G-Guard into this, flip it a bunch of times, and then your opponent dies. Basically, that's how this happens, because you get the flip off of her, and then she'll flip another card, which means that's 10k to the front row. But since you're already on grade 3, you probably already have flips in your G-Zone already. So what happens is you now have a 20k, 30k potential front. This will extend it. If you play the second copy also, then now you can extend another 10k, which means your turn with your Night Roses and your Bad Bounties and your Bandish, whatever you're doing, are lethal as heck. So that's basically why we run this now at 2. Also why we cut back on Lily a little bit, because this card is just kind of, in a weird way, more broken now than Lily, which is crazy to say because Lily's always been an insane card. And that's basically it. That's the deck. I think this deck's insane right now, and there's a reason why everyone wants it gone or capped or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of discussions about this deck getting touched. I don't disagree. I think Crest is insane. I think this deck's kind of broken right now. I will say it has a little bit of a slower game plan that I think people forget about. It is still very slow early on. You kind of have time, whereas other decks you don't have as much time in some scenarios. I think Harry is probably better than this deck, only for the fact that it has a way better pop off, but this deck can recover from weird scenarios better. So that's kind of the difference between the two. They're both insanely strong in one way or another. I think it's not wrong to assume one is stronger than the other, because they both have different weaknesses and strengths about them between the two decks. So it's like, I think the argument is just they're both really good. Under perfect peak scenarios, I think Harry's slightly better, but I do think Rose is like literally like right there. Like, I don't think it's any worse or better, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's basically deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy that. Like I said, I had the deck log here for y'all to check it out as well. It's different from your standard build. It is not hugely different, but it is different. You still play a normal Grand Blue plan, but we just have a way better crest turn. Our crest turns are just more insane than other people's crest turns, basically. Is the idea went with this. I got tired of playing my third stride game plan when I can play a second stride game plan. That's basically what I went for with this style of build. Hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned, I hope everything I mentioned is informative to you or helps you out in your deck building. Hope you guys had fun. My friend took this list and he had a really great time. He tested it for about 2 weeks straight while I was playing Harry, and for the most part we found that it was a very, very good matchup both ways. It was just a fun matchup, funnily enough. I don't know what it is about Crescent to Crest, but if both people find Crest, it's actually a very fun matchup. But if one person doesn't find Crest, it's a very boring matchup. There's no in between. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this profile. I really, really, really love Grand Blue. I'm glad to be playing it again. I'm glad that Bugs is tapped a little bit so I can actually play my favorite clans again. Like and subscribe with the cards.shop if you need any of your goodies. On that, guys, peace out. Das Vidania. I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye!